What if I told you that Create isn't just an automation mod, but it's actually teaching you mechanical engineering? Now, Create is one of the most popular Minecraft mods right now, and it primarily allows players to make elaborate devices and machines that automate nearly anything, but it does so while relying on actual real-world engineering principles. In Create, you use two measurements in relation to your stationary mechanical contraptions, and we will be talking about stationary contraptions because dynamic contraptions, the ones that move, use a special kind of energy called magic. In reality, these contraptions play by a little bit different rules in the mod. But back to measurements. These measurements are stress units, which is how much capacity you can attach to a system, and speed, which is measured in revolutions per minute, or RPM. While it seems like these two measurements are separate in our system, they're actually linked to each other. And if you look very closely with your engineering goggles on, I have this guy at 16 RPM, and this guy at 32 RPM. This fan uses 32 SU, and this fan uses 64. This is an example of mechanical advantage. In engineering, using mechanical advantage refers to how using a device like a lever allows a user to trade how much force they are exerting for either how long or how far the distance is that is applied. That's a little complicated, so let's use an example. Imagine a book. If you attempt to open the book by gripping the cover close to the spine, it will be difficult to lift the cover. But if you grip the cover using the edge farthest away from the spine, it will be much easier. This showcases mechanical advantage. It's easier to lift the cover because we are farther away from the spine. This means if you have a lever long enough and a place to put it, you can lift anything. Give me a lever and a place to put it, and I will move the earth. This is fun and all, but how does it relate to the Create mod? I already mentioned that Create trades off speed and stress units. Stress is an abstract way of interpreting torque, otherwise known as sort of a rotational force, if you will. You can think of it like a torque capacity. The system can only have so much rotation happen before it locks up. Like if I add too many crushing wheels to my system, you see it's overstressed, which means we exceeded our torque capacity. And speed? Well, speed is simply a function of time and distance, which in Create's case is what's being traded off whenever you spin something faster. When you spin a cog faster, it takes less time to rotate, but this means you can't exert as much torque. In other means, it has a lower stress capacity. This works in the inverse as well. The slower something spins, the more stress capacity it has. It is important to remember that in Create, you can't make more SU by slowing something down. It only lowers the amount of SU that is consumed by machines. Create also takes advantage of something called gear ratios. This is basically an application of mechanical advantage. If you place a big cogwheel next to a small cogwheel and give it a little spin, you notice that they spin at different speeds. This is because each point on the edge of the gear must remain in contact with the other gear. The other gear has to spin either faster or slower to keep up. This is an application of our mechanical advantage because you can think of our lever, our distance, as the size of the cog. In engineering, we can describe this relationship with a ratio. Now, there are a few ways to calculate this ratio, but the simple way is to count the teeth of each cog. Our small cogwheel has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teeth. And our large cogwheel has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 teeth. The teeth are the little extrudy bits that are coming off of the cog itself. In our ratio, the left side describes the gear that is getting driven. You can think of it like the output, or the machine that our rotational energy is going to. And the right side is the gear that is doing the driving, or the input. The side that we're supplying our rotational energy from. So let's have a look at this system right here. If I put my hand crank on the large cogwheel, this means this cogwheel is our driver, meaning its tooth count goes on the right side of our ratio. This cogwheel, imagine a shaft going out into some machines. This is the cog that is getting driven, so it goes on the left side. Meaning, on the left side, we put down 8 for the teeth count of our small cog, and on the right side, we put down 16, the teeth count of our big cog. Now, in true mathematical fashion, we simplify this down to 1 over 2. The gear ratio for this system is 1 to 2. Now, these numbers have a lot of meaning behind them. One way you can think about it is every time our large cogwheel spins once, our small cogwheel spins twice. So look very carefully. So it describes the change in speed, but it also describes the change in stress use. I have in my possession some cuckoo clocks, so that way we can measure their stress use. If I hook up my cuckoo clock, it uses 32 stress units. Now, if I hook up my cuckoo clock to the output of our system, it becomes 64 stress units. So this ratio also describes the increase in stress because we increased our speed. Specifically, times 2. Because 32 times 2 is 64. This is the fundamental idea behind gear ratios in relation to the create mod. We can use them to increase the speed of our rotation, but that also increases the stress units. We can use a thing called a double reduction gear, which is basically a fancy word for stacking 2 cogs on the same shaft and using that to build another gear ratio. As you can see, we have a 1 to 2 ratio here and another 1 to 2 ratio here. And let's see what happens when we attach our cuckoo clock. So now we're at 128 SU. That is, since we're increasing the gear ratio, it becomes 1 to 4 instead of 1 to 2. That means we're spinning 4 times as fast. That means we're also using 4 times as much SU for our machines. Create is an infinitely complex mod, but I hope you've enjoyed this look at how Create uses real-world engineering principles to allow you to create the contraptions of your dreams. With this knowledge, the only limit is your imagination. I hope you enjoyed, thank you for watching, and I will see you later, alligator.